Hello, my name's Ben.
And my name is Josh.
And welcome back to FPL Graduates and welcome back to another preview. Game week 19, it's a little bit more different than usual because there's a lot of people playing that free hit chip.
Yeah, it's going to be so interesting to see what we're doing. Obviously, a lot of you guys got loads of questions. Should you take hits? Should you use your free hit? We're going to go in through and discuss all of that in this live stream. It's obviously, less than 45 minutes now until the deadline. We've left it as late as we can because you have to in this environment in a minute. We didn't know if Spurs was going ahead last night. Today it is. It's just all over the place. What's your thoughts on the games that remain, Ben?
There's a couple of really tasty ones in there. And now we've heard some news about teams that wanted postponements and not getting it. It means we could have some big scores this week, and I think there's going to be some huge hauls from certain big players in FPL.
Definitely. Right, shall we crack on then, as we have little less than just over 40 minutes to go. What's your thoughts if you go through your team first? Are you free hitting? What's your plans this week?
Yeah, I've hit the free hit chip already. As it stands, this is how my team is looking right now. I stress as it stands because the changes that I might make will be based on whether we get any early team news from Manchester City and from the Etihad over there. So we start off in goal, Ramsdale. His ownership is so high and he's playing against Norwich. It's a no-brainer for me to have him in. Him or Sanchez, both really good goalkeeper options for this week. I've kept Reece James in defence. I think, as an FPL asset, he's fantastic no matter who he plays against. He's had a patch where he's got not so many points, and that could mean we can make some huge gains this week if we keep him in. Reguilon against Palace, it's going to be a triple up. Now I know that game's off. The Spurs triple up's happening because Palace won't be up for it at all. I know that for sure. I've gone Zinchenko because alongside Cancelo, those two defenders are projected to have the highest points out of any defenders this week. Kyle Walker, I believe he's still out. Pep Guardiola said in the press conference he has not been fit. That is why he's not been playing. So I believe that stance that he's taken kind of suggests to me that those will be the fullback pairings that we'll see this week. Son, vice captain. I stress it's very important. If you're not captaining someone from that Spurs game, make sure they're vice captained, really, because we know that game's going ahead at 3:00. So it's just a safe option just to vice him there. I've kept Jared Bowen in because Southampton just can't defend. Not great defensively, that team. Martinelli, again, it's an easy pick for a free hit. He's really cheap. He's really good in form. We've gone Mahrez, and it's a risk pick, this. Obviously could change depending on if we see some early team news and what have you. Could be Bernardo, could be Foden, could be whoever. It's just I want a Man City starter in there. Ronaldo captain up front against Newcastle. Yeah, I like Ronaldo up front against Newcastle. I think he's going to score some goals. He's got a good goal scoring record against them. And we've got Harry Kane as well. Let's hope he can continue his form. The bench as well, I think, is relatively important this week. Making sure at least you got playing players. I've got Dalot, Broha, and Moda, all three starters. All three, should play minutes. So we know just in case we have points coming off the bench. But yeah, that's how my team is looking this week. What are your thoughts, Josh?
Yeah, it's really good. I'm probably going to play my free hit chip too, and it's very similar to what I had in mind as well. I think everyone's free hit chips will be similar this week. Obviously, there's going to be a massive template going into it. I like the Mahrez pick. I've heard that Foden may or may not be starting. Obviously, he has had that off-field trouble recently with Grealish. So I think Mahrez is going to AFCON soon. So I reckon he could be a good starter right now. And when we see Mahrez play, he's always gets in and amongst the goals and assists. It's just whether he does play. Like Ben mentioned, I know you mentioned on the TikTok live, if we do get any early City news, we will let you know. And hope so as well for our benefits, because it'll be nice to see which Man City attackers do play. I've heard also Bernardo Silva is also on 4 yellow cards, and this is the last game that you can get 5 yellow card bookings, basically. So there's thoughts that he might get rested, and then he'll play against Brentford, and maybe KDB gets rested against Brentford. It's just a prediction, but it's interesting to see who will play in that City lineup. Reguilon's an interesting one. I think Palace are decent going forward. Obviously, you got Dalot on the bench. Would you not prefer to play Dalot, or are you thinking Palace are just a no-go right now with their COVID postponements and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, Palace don't want to play this fixture. I know this for really, for a fact, because they wanted it off last night. So I think just going like against Palace is probably the best thing to do. And Dalot, I'm really happy with him just sitting on the bench as 4.5 million. I've got Ronaldo captain, so I've almost covered that United sort of side of things going forwards. Defensively, we don't even know who's going to really be starting personally in that fullback position over the next few weeks. They've got some good options, like 2 good options at like right back and left back. So we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, I'm happy to have Dalot just sat first sub on my bench.
Awesome, that's good stuff. Right, I'll move on to my team. I haven't played my free hit chip yet, or I'm 90% sure I'm going to play it. I could field 10, taking Salah out and taking a hit to get to Ronaldo, and I think it was a Man City midfielder, but I just don't think I want to do it. I've taken hits the last 3 weeks in a row. My rank's dropped significantly. So I think I weren't going to have this free chip anyway. So the way I look at it, it's almost like, here you go, just sort of use it. I don't know how you think about that, Ben. Like, because we've now got 2, do you just sort of like, I wouldn't have had it anyway, so I'll just use it now? Is that the sort of process?
I was in a bit of a mudded position anyway. Like, I think even if we didn't get given that second one, it would have been very tempting for me to do it, because I only had about 7 players, and they're all not good players to have for this week, with no Spurs, like 1 City and that sort of thing. So for me, it was a no-brainer, but obviously it's dependent on your situation. Like, if someone said, look, I've got this many players, should I free hit? I wouldn't be able to tell you a definitive yes or no, because you might have a good like 7, 8, 9 players in that team. So it's just situational, really.
Yeah. Leon asks here, can you stack 2 free hit chips? And yes, you can. If you haven't used your first one yet, the second one is coming on game week 20. So next game week, you will be able to stack both of them. It's not not like the wild card where you have to use one. They did say that you can stack. So that is good news. If your team's looking ready to go, you got 11 players. I would definitely keep it if you've got 11 players. But yeah, we'll run through mine. So this is what the basis is at the minute. These are the players that I just had in my team. Obviously, Ronaldo will be coming in up top and captain. I think over the next like 3 or 4 game weeks, he's got a more chance to score than Salah in the bookies, which is really good to know. I think, like you mentioned as well, with Harry Kane, he's obviously scored that 1 goal already. I'm hoping that he can push on and get a few more. Same with Son. Both of them look really good since Conte's come in, so they'll both be in there. I'm currently De Gea Tierney. Obviously, the other way around is Dalot and Ramsdale. It could change if I need a little bit of funds, but for now, I think I'll stick with that. Instead of Zinchenko, I think I'm going to go Diaz. I think he just looks really good. He's scored a couple goals recently. He looks quite attacking from set pieces and stuff like that. I do think Zinchenko is also a great pick. Obviously, he's the other fullback, but Zinchenko's nothing like Cancelo anyway, so I don't think the ceiling's as high compared to Cancelo, who just basically plays in attacking midfield, which is absolutely mental. As I mentioned, the other defensive spot, this is where I struggle, because I'm just like, who would I go for? I've got double City. I've got United and Arsenal. You could go Spurs, like you mentioned, with Reguilon. Obviously, Reguilon's been getting quite far up the pitch. For me, I'll probably just leave that spot for now and come back to it when I've got less funds. Other than this, I'm probably looking at a City midfielder, and it's just a case of which one. It's between Foden and Mahrez for me. Obviously, Mahrez is a bit more expensive. I'm going to put Foden in for now, because if Foden plays, if I know Foden's playing, he'll definitely be in there. He's like, expected goal involvement per 90 is through the roof. It's like 0.8 or 0.9 or something like that. It is awesome. Like, he's just basically gets a goal or assist every single game that he plays, every 90 minutes. Other midfield spots, for me, I would have Jarrod Bowen in there. He was already in there. He's looking great. An Arsenal midfield is probably a must. Obviously, Norwich are as depleted as pretty much every other team, aren't they? So it depends who you go for. Who would you go for? Do you think Martinelli is the best one?
Before you go through, I've got some early City team news that's just coming to me. My understanding is that you shouldn't put Rodri or Kyle Walker in your teams today, which confirms kind of that Zinchenko one that I was wanting to go with. Rodri and Kyle Walker won't be playing today.
That's interesting. So you probably think Fernandinho, and then obviously, like you said, Zinchenko will come into the team. We'll keep tabs on that, because that's interesting news. But obviously Bernardo Silva has been playing quite deep since KDB's come into the team. I'm hoping that probably stays the same, and then I can just bounce on like a Jesus or a Mahrez or something like that.
Yeah, it's kind of just thinking, isn't it? Like, who's going to play then instead of Rodri? Are we going to see Gundogan sort of slot in there? Are we going to see? I don't even. Is Fernandinho even fit right now? I'm not too sure. Like, it's just a case then of seeing which City boys we're going to want to get in. But yeah, it kind of makes my case of doubling up on that City defence all the more enticing, doesn't it?
It's getting exciting. And I know Leicester are also without a lot of players. There's a lot of injuries, especially in the defence. So
their rumored starting lineup is we've retweeted it on Twitter. I mean, wow, it looks really weak. It has to be said.
Yeah, so it's looking like Triple City is the way to go, obviously, and also they play at 3:00. So in terms of COVID postponements, this is the best chance you're going to get in terms of like not being affected by it. Obviously, United play tomorrow. I'd be surprised if United is called off because United had COVID the past week, and Newcastle have been one of the teams that are least affected by COVID. So hoping that stays ahead. Let's go for a couple of questions whilst I finish off my free hit. Theon, I might have said your name wrong. Sorry, mate. -8 to get Ronaldo. What are you saying, Ben?
Again, it's dependent on your team. I'd say if it's to get a full 11, probably. If it's to not even have the 11, maybe it's worth free hitting in that situation. But yeah, like Ronaldo's probably a must-have this week because it's against Newcastle.
He's the best captaincy option as well. Like realistically, you'd either go in Ronaldo or you're going with Kane and Son, or if you're going big balls, you'd probably go in Man City player. But I think the safe bet is Ronaldo. He's already proven he scored goals against them in the home leg. Newcastle defensively atrocious. That defending against Man City was just bewildering for the Diaz goal. Like all he had to do was head it away, Kieran Clark, and he just never did. So yeah, Ben, if you want to go through and pick some comments, and then I'll finish up this free hit as and when I can.
Let's have a look here. There's a lot coming in. Here's one that a couple of people might be interested in knowing. People who still have their wild card, should they use it this week or not?
Well, I think they're going to have to, aren't they? If you still got your wild card, you need to, because you get a new one in the new year and you can't stack your wild card. Yeah. So by all means, just go ahead and use it straight away.
Yeah, you have to use your first wild card by the Gameweek 20 deadline. So you can either do it this week or next week, which the deadline for next week's one is in 48 hours. So you've pretty much got 48 hours to use your wild card. Whether you do it this week or next week, it's up to you. I don't know whether I'd be tempted to do it this week. Maybe it's just depending on whether you want to sort of keep Salah in your team for the Leicester game.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. That I'm on to my last player. I need a 3.9 million defender. Is there anyone that shouts out to you, Browno?
I'm trying to think of one that might play.
Manquillo is
maybe Williams, maybe of Norwich.
Williams.
I'm not too sure. You're kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel. He's used all his funds up elsewhere, which is typical of Josh, really, in this situation. But yeah, let's have a look. I'm trying to see whether I don't know whether you want Amity, that someone's just said. Smith has to save the funds. We've got another question here. I have 9 players that don't want a free hit. Shall I take out Jota for Martinelli and play with 10? I think in that situation, you could probably get away with it this week and not lose too much rank. Obviously, it'd be preferable to have like a Spurs player in there, maybe a United player, someone like that. But yeah, playing with 10's not the end of the world. I know so many people are free hitting. It might be tempting. It might be pressurized. People like fear of missing out on the points this week. But if you can hold like not using your free hit, you're probably in a really strong position. So yeah, I think if you can get away with it, then
especially if you don't need to hit as well. I think that's a great option to go down. If you've got 10, realistically, like as long as you've got Ronaldo or a Spurs player like a Son or a Kane, I think you'll be sweet. Obviously, a lot of people probably don't have the Spurs players and don't have Ronaldo because of the postponements that they've had in recent weeks. That's probably why the free hit is so tempting, I think, for a lot of people. So yeah, it's an interesting one. But for me, I think if I could play 10 with no hits, I would. It's the straight answer to that.
Yeah, for sure. Let's have a look. I've seen a lot of rumours as well about Cancelo from last night. Do we believe him, Josh? I don't personally believe him.
No, he obviously wasn't pictured in training. And then he was posting, like, people thought he had caught COVID and he was one of the positive cases. But then he's like, I've seen so many pictures with all of his family at Christmas. Like, if he's isolated with that many family members, his house must be massive. That's what I'm going to say.
Yeah. That's the thing. I'm pretty sure I saw last night, like later on, there was a photo of Cancelo.
Yeah, I saw someone say that it was on Reddit or something. But then again, when do you know it's before this game or before last game or something like that? You know what I mean? It's a tough one.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Josh, are we taking some more questions, or are we going to go through now your sort of free hit and the other picks that you've made?
Yeah, we'll go through the free hit. I'm not totally finished. There's a defender spot left, but I'll come to it as and when. So I've gone with De Gea Tierney. I just think overall, and like, because obviously Ramsdale Dalot would be the other pairing. I think both of them have the potential to be great. Obviously, Ramsdale's effective ownership will probably be through the roof. So I'm playing a bit of a risk, but at the minute, I really like De Gea. He's played really well this season, been one of United's best players. Tierney as well, I feel like is more explosive going forward. When we've seen United attack under Ralph Rangnick, the fullbacks haven't really been pushed up as much. They've been playing nice forward passes, but usually the pass to assist and stuff like that. Whereas Tierney, he always gets forward. He always gets in amongst the points. He's had, other than last week when I brought him in, funnily enough, he's had a 7-pointer, 12-pointer, 12-pointer, and he only played 64 minutes in one of those games. So like, he's very explosive when he is fit. So I'm hoping he does the same. I've had to go with Zinchenko. I said I wanted Diaz, but looking at the funds, it wasn't possible. So Zinchenko's there. He is probably the better pick than Diaz, but I just wanted to be different to Ben. But he's going to have to be in there. Reece James at 5'9", like you said, he's a great option. Even if he doesn't keep a clean sheet, his chance of getting a goal or an assist is so high. Same with Alonso. If you wanted to save a bit of funds on the free hit, I think he's also great going forward. This is the defender spot spare, 4.8 million. The obvious pick's Dalot, but do I want double United defence? He'd probably be on the bench looking at the team. So we'll wait and see with that. Cancelo, 6.5. Great player. I expect him to play unless we hear anything else. Obviously, it's 25 minutes to go until the deadline. Son's in there, 10.4. I expect goals from him this week. Crystal Palace, like you said, COVID's just decimated their team by the sounds of things. He's been in good form. Foden would be my best preferred pick if I could choose someone from the City lineup if he does play, but obviously that could change in the next 25 minutes. Martinelli, I've gone for just to save the funds on the Arsenal midfielder. Trossard, I really like him this week. He's a nice little differential. Brentford at home. Obviously, they haven't played in a while. I'm looking forward to that. And Brentford defensively have been quite poor in the last few weeks. Jared Bowen, like you said, Southampton again can't defend. He could be even playing up front if Antonio doesn't play. And also he's just looking really lively. That goal he scored against Spurs was unbelievable. Great bit of play from him. Ronaldo's there. He'll be my captain this week. And also Harry Kane, similar sort of stance on him as to Son. I expect Spurs to play well this week, which probably means that I'm not going to score a lot of points. What's your thoughts, Brownell?
Sorry, I'm just working out the City team news.
Are we getting some news?
But your thoughts on your free hit team overall? I like it. Very decent. There's a couple of fun little picks in there, like Trossard, that I like. I've got fond memories of Trossard from last season. I had him for 2 weeks. He scored me 20 plus points over those 2 weeks, so always good. And I think playing out of position, 6.2 striker for Brighton. Can't get much better than that against the Brentford team that could just, at any given moment concede a goal. So good to have him in there. But like I said, it's a very similar team to mine. I think there's definitely a template in there for the team. So yeah, we'll just see what happens. And I'm looking forward to this game week now. I am looking forward to it.
Yeah, I've sort of been I've just been put off by FPL the recent weeks just because of the COVID. It's just so unpredictable. You're sort of just playing against the wind sort of thing. But the extra free hit chip, it just gives this week a nice boost, I feel. And then I feel like in the coming weeks, it shouldn't be as bad. Obviously, we have, I think, 2 more game weeks, and then there's the winter break. So hopefully in that time, we might see the COVID cases die down. We'll wait and see, but we're just hoping for normal football to be back and less postponements. Hopefully.
Yeah, for sure. And, it's a tough time for FPL managers, but we're getting through it. There will be light at the end of the tunnel. That's for sure. Hopefully, we see sort of less postponements in the future. Here's an interesting one that we haven't talked about as well. Is Mason Mount a good pick for this week?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people go with him in their free hit chips. Obviously, I say he's quite expensive. He's just, for example, our template, there's not a room for a Mason Mount in there, is there? We've gone big on the Spurs boys. He does play. If he starts, he's a great asset. But does he start? That is the big question. What's your thoughts on him? Because I think he's just a bit too 50-50 for me to put like 7 odd million into him.
I think the reason why we're having this conversation is his form. He's definitely a form-based player, and you've got to get him in those weeks where he's going to return. Yes, Aston Villa have some problems at the moment, but I just think the decision you're making then with Mason Mount is effectively City midfielder or Mason Mount, and I think I prefer the City mid. It's a decision you want to make. If Josh, you're looking at your team now, how would you even get Mason Mount in there? You'd have to probably get out Foden, and I just prefer the City boys. Like, no matter who it is, they're going to be more likely to score higher points this week, especially against that Leicester team.
Yeah, it'd be Foden down, or one of the premiums down, or maybe I could squeeze if I put like a 3.9 million defender in and then squeeze it up to Bowen to Mount. But even then, I'm not sure if I could afford it. So it would be tricky to if you could want to fit in a City mid, double Spurs, Ronaldo, you're going to have to downgrade elsewhere, like in the defence. And then like Cancelo's arguably like a midfielder, the way he plays. He's like probably one of the most must-have assets when he does start. It should be too difficult. I don't think Mason Mount's that kind of guy who's going to change the world this game. I think Villa are a good team since Gerrard's taken over. Defensively, they've been very good. They adapt well to their opponents as well. We see them sometimes they'll fly on forward with their fullbacks, but when they need to defend, they'll defend. Like Gerrard's not scared of doing that. So I think it'll be a tough game for Chelsea, and I'd rather attack the weaker teams like Leicester, Palace, Newcastle. They're much weaker than Villa.
Yeah, for sure. Like that Villa team, even with Gerrard not going to be attending the game, it's a lot better team than it was before. And I could see it being a relatively low scoring game. Like Chelsea are a bit low on confidence right now. Like the past few weeks haven't been great for them. And Villa they're on a big push recently in terms of the points that they're getting. So yeah, I'd probably say no to Mason Mount over like a City midfielder, because you've got to have a triple up on City really.
I just realised I'm 0.1 off Emerson Royale. That is heartbreaking, man. You hate to see it.
Would you be tempted by like a defender from Spurs that isn't like so expensive? So yeah.
As I was thinking, I could obviously go Eric Dyer. Didn't he score in not the last game week? Didn't he, or the game week before?
He played fantastically in the last game week, and he's sort of been like their pivot in the defence, and he's been spraying balls left, right, and centre. Fantastic against Liverpool.
I've seen him get on assist against Leeds.
Would you be tempted by Ben Davies? Like, he's had some pretty good underlying numbers in recent weeks.
He's gone forward quite a bit, hasn't he? I've seen him a lot forward from like set pieces, and somehow he's getting on the end of them, which is weird. I don't know. It is interesting. Obviously, the premium pick of Reguilon is the best pick to go for. Like, he bombs forward all the time. No way I can afford him. Royale's 0.1 out. I don't want to downgrade anyone either. Like, I think it'll all depend. If I know Foden starts, it'll be probably one of Ben Davies. But it's tough. I really want to know who starts for City this afternoon, because it's going to make or break, isn't it?
Yeah, like the guy that usually leaks some of the City lineups, he's like, I don't have the full lineup, lads. I just don't. So it's going to be a tough one. I think it's going to be just like a really late decision on those City boys that me and Josh got in the midfield for sure. But yeah, like we'll take a few more questions then before sort of running up the stream and sort of leaving you there, because we've obviously got to sort out our teams before the deadline. So if you've got any other questions, lads, make sure to put them in. Let's have a look. There's a question for you, Josh. Who are you going to bench in your midfield?
Interesting. It'll probably be Martinelli, just a natural selection. I think Norwich, they're depleted, but I just don't know. I'm sort of picking him just because everyone else will have him. and I think he'll be a good first sub if I do need him. Foden, I prefer. Son, I'd prefer. Trossard, I think he's a good differential pick this week against that Brentford team. Like you said, he's playing up front. I really quite like him. Brighton always seem to get chances as well, so it'll be interesting with him. Bowen as well, I really like, especially if he plays up top. Obviously, we'll wait and see. I've just seen like a team sheet from West Ham, Southampton. Actually, obviously, it's not like a lineup; it's just the names who are in the squads. And obviously, Bowen is in there. Antonio is in there. So, do we know if they're going to play? I don't know. It's interesting, but yeah, I think it'll be Martinelli. I've got Tierney anyway. That's the more attacking choice out of him and Ramsdale. So I hope that Martinelli doesn't score a brace again, basically, is what I'm going to say.
Pretty much. It's a big call from you to not want to not be tempted to start Martinelli. Do you want to take a couple more questions, Josh, before rounding it up?
Yeah, let's do it. So Ollie is asking here, is Alonso a good shout? I said it earlier. I think he's a good shout. He's differential to James as well. If you want to just punt it, I'll see that the effective ownership on James will be really high. But I think Alonso's equally as good of a pick. We've seen in recent weeks that he seems to get substituted early, but not early enough to lose a clean sheet. And he's still getting some attacking returns, which is equally ideal. What would you do? Would you prefer James, I'd imagine, over Alonso?
Yeah, for sure. Like I think James just has that potential just of scoring, assisting, doing everything. And yes, Alonso, he's come in since Chilwell's been injured, but like even when he's the only left back in the club, I still feel like at any given point Tuchel could drop him, which is a concern for me. I'd probably only have the one Chelsea defender this week, especially with the other teams having great fixtures. So yeah, I think good shout for the long term. But if you're on a free hit, I probably would avoid Alonso on a free hit.
Yeah, me too. Someone's asking about the City leaks. If we do get them, it's not a certainty that the team will get leaked. We know that Rodri and Walker won't play. That's about it at the minute. So if we do get them, we'll retweet them. We'll tweet about them. It's always on Twitter for like team leak sort of stuff. So head over there. Links in the description on our link tree. So if you're wanting to do that, someone's asking Trossard or Bowen. I've obviously got both. Who would you pick out of those two?
Bowen for me. Again, another one that could be playing out of position up front against Southampton team who have forgotten how to defend in recent weeks. So for me, it's a relatively simple one. What would you say? Who would you prefer, Trossard or Bowen?
It would be my midfield would go Son, Foden, Bowen, Trossard, Martinelli for me. I think also Southampton still got, I think, Willy Caballero in goal. He hasn't played football in so long, and he looks like it as well. I think he's like near 40. So I would strongly suggest that. A nice one here. Thoughts on De Bruyne? I must say, on my first free hit team, he was one of the first names on my team sheet. I then deliberated on having double Spurs and changed it. What was your thoughts on De Bruyne making your team?
It's just a case of like any of those City mids that start could get the same amount of points as De Bruyne. So I was kind of like, is it really worth like the extra like 4 or 5 million that he's going to cost me? And I think I can have a more balanced free hit team without him in. If I have him in, I've got to like go cheap on the defense and cheap everywhere else because I want those premiums in. So I've kind of just gone Mahrez. He's a bit cheaper and allows me to be a bit more flexible with my team.
Yeah, definitely. For me, right now, I can't afford Mahrez. I'd have to go maybe Ben Davies to Ben Johnson and then up to Foden, which is interesting. I'm just hoping we get something. Like I'd rather something than nothing right now. It's getting to that stage because all I know is that all of them are fit, which is really not ideal. Like for the first time ever, all the Man City attackers are fit. We'll take a couple more. And then we will call it a day. Obviously, half past is the deadline, so make sure your teams are finalised by then. Tony asked Rashford or a City midfielder. I think there's only one answer to this, isn't there?
Yeah, I'd probably say City midfielder. Again, like I think it's just a standout this week. We know their game's going ahead. Yes, the United game shouldn't be in doubt, but I think the City mids, they could absolutely go mental against this side that they're playing against in Leicester.
Yeah,
but Rashford's a good pick. He's a good pick.
He's a decent player. I just think Rashford, if you've watched him when he has played recent weeks, he's been playing up top Ronaldo. He just doesn't look like someone who's going to score at all. He's been getting maybe a couple of assists every now and then. But I think for nine odd million that you're spending on him, I'd much rather save $1 million and go Mahrez at the most expensive other than De Bruyne than go for Rashford right now. -4 for Cancelo, Ben.
If we knew what was going on with that City team, yes.
If he starts, yes. Yeah.
If he starts, yes.
Here's one more. We're going to end it on this one. Foden or Mahrez. It's Ben versus Josh at the minute.
I've got to back Mahrez, and the man in form.
I'll be backing Foden. If Foden starts, I'd back Foden. I think if Mahrez starts, Ben would back Mahrez. I think both of them, if they start, are great options going forward. Obviously, sure. Sterling could play. Obviously, he's expensive. I think if you can get either one of these starting in your team, you'll get some points this week for sure. But that is going to be the end of our deadline stream. You got 12 minutes, guys, and then you have to lock in your team. This is probably going to be my team. To see our locked in teams, head over to our Instagram. We post our locked in teams, all the bonus points, all that sort of stuff over there. So make sure you check us out on Instagram and Twitter, as Ben mentioned, for the leaked team news.
Yeah, and thank you guys for watching the stream. It's been a fun one. Make sure, as always, to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, I've been Ben.
I've been Josh.
And we'll see you guys
later. Have a good